true net profit, I've made about 12.6 ETH, which at the moment of making this video is somewhere in the ballpark of $30,000 to $35,000.
Wow. So hello everyone, today we will be learning in depth about NFTs, how you can make a significant amount of money with Matt. And before that, a quick introduction. NFT is anything which is not replaceable. For example, banknotes are replaceable. I give you $10, you give me $10 back. Both are replaceable, different notes. But if I add a digital signature on it, then it's non-replaceable. And if you make an NFT with that digital signature, it is one of the most secure digital asset you can ever have, because the record of that transaction is permanent. You cannot modify it. A quick example could be in April 2021, even a house was listed as an NFT. So you can buy house, you can buy actual assets or digital assets, you can buy anything. And the most popular platform to buy and sell NFT currently is OpenSea. So let's start with the video.
So hello everyone, today it's an honor to introduce Matt. He's someone who started in NFT space from the last 7 to 8 months, and he has made thousands of dollars in this space. So today we will be talking about how a common person, an engineer, a student can get started with buying and selling NFTs and how they can make a significant amount of money, whether it's their side hustle like passive income, or if they even want to do NFT selling and buying as a full-time job as well, how much money you can make. So hi Matt, can you please introduce yourself and share a little bit about your journey to NFT?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, first of all. My name's Matt. I've been in the space, like you said, for 7-8 months. Truthfully, I'm really not that much farther into it than anyone else that's watching this video, or anyone out there that might watch it in the future. It's a quick moving space. It's a lot of fun. It's really interesting. I personally believe that we are very early on in this space. So if you think you're late to the game, trust me, you're not. I can assure you that it is so early in the space. There's very few users in the grand scheme of things. So if you are interested about this topic, I recommend that you listen to this video. I'm going to try to share as much knowledge as I can while we're here.
Awesome. So first, let's talk about a little bit of numbers. I have seen you have clients on your Patreon, on your Discord channel. They have made thousands of dollars with one trade of an NFT. So before getting into what is an NFT and details, can you give a ballpark figure of how many hours you spent into NFTs in the last 7 months and how much money you can make?
Well, personally, I've spent, so for me personally, I spend between 10 and 16 hours a day working on NFTs, trading, collecting. That's not normal. I would say it's because I run multiple businesses in the NFT space that takes that much time. But for the average person, if you spend an hour or 2 hours a day, most days as your hobby in your free time, you genuinely can make a decent amount of money. I don't know if there's a exact number I can give you, but people in my Patreon group and, you know, people that are subscribed to me and that follow me and kind of listen to my guidance and advice in some ways have made thousands of dollars in the past month. This past month, February and January, were really, really great months for NFTs. The space is exploding. So I've seen some people make $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 flips in one day. If they do really, you know, if they do it really well. And I've seen people, you know, make maybe $10,000 to $20,000 in a month. Again, this is specific people that are, you know, paying attention, are really involved in the space, obviously are part of my private membership. And that adds a lot more value and ways to find these projects and gives you access to, you know, pre-sales on projects, which is really important right now. So it depends on how much you put in is how much you'll really get out. But I would say for an average person, if you want to spend an hour or two a day after doing a, you know, I would say about 15 hours of research and really understanding how the space works, then spend an hour and two each day, maybe a couple of days a week, you can start making some good side hustle money on this over time.
Wow. And can I ask you how much money you have made in the space?
Yeah, so strictly off of NFT flips, so where I buy an NFT and then sell it later for a profit, after all gas fees, after all, you know, commission fees, true net profit, I've made about 12.6 ETH, which at the moment of making this video is somewhere in the ballpark of $30,000 to $35,000.
Wow. This money is very, very exciting, but people don't know the hard work that goes behind the scenes for the money. So before getting into hard work, I really want to explain all the viewers what an NFT is with a story, with an analogy that you can think of, please.
Man, so there are a bunch of different ways you can explain an NFT. I mean, you've probably heard it stands for non-fungible token, which means it can't be recreated, right? It's unique asset. The best way I can describe it for a lot of people that might understand this, Pokemon, one of the biggest brands in the world. Whether it's Pokemon cards or Pokemon Go. I mean, Pokemon has been around for a long time. Pokemon cards right now, what does a Pokemon card have value for? Well, it's rare, right? Like older Pokemon cards, first generation Pokemon cards are rare because they don't make them anymore. They don't exist very frequently. They're scarce, right? So they're rare and scarce, and that gives them some value. Sometimes for big collectors, I don't know if you guys maybe know Logan Paul or other big collectors in the Pokemon space. If those people previously owned that card and then you buy it from them, well, that has some value to it too, right? Because it was owned by a person that, you know, has stature or a celebrity or something like that. So that's even more value to it. You can obviously use it to play the game. I don't think most people that collect Pokemon cards play the game necessarily anymore, but at some point, you know, that was a utility of Pokemon cards. So you can kind of see like all the reasons why, okay, now I understand, you know, to some degree why a Pokemon card may have an outrageous value like $300,000 or $1 million for a Charizard or something crazy like that, right? NFTs are basically the digital version of Pokemon cards. And that's just one example. There are 100 other examples I could give you that kind of help you understand like why something might have value. But for a Pokemon card, right? So if you have an NFT version of that, it's a digital version of that Pokemon card. So now let's say you wanted to buy that Pokemon card for $300,000. You wanted to buy the most rare Charizard that exists. You go on eBay or you go on another website, another platform that's a marketplace for these Pokemon cards. You want to buy that from someone who owns it. How do you know that that Pokemon card that's across the world, whoever owns it's across the world, how do you know that that's the real thing? It could be a counterfeit. It could be damaged. You know, it could be a spoof. Like the pictures may not be what it actually is. It's very hard to know without being there in person and traveling across the world to buy a Pokemon card. Some people can do it, but most of us, that's outrageous, right? So how do you verify that? Well, you can't really. Like on eBay, you'd buy it and you get it shipped to you, and then you pray to God that it is what you thought it was going to be. And if it's not, you just lost potentially a lot of money, or maybe even a small amount of money, whether you're buying a rare one or not. Like you want to get what you're actually paying for. With an NFT, that third party essentially that acts as eBay is also the party that verifies that NFT is legit, and that is the blockchain. The blockchain really is where everything is stored. It's publicly accessible, that people can say, hey, this NFT that I have here, this digital token that could represent, for example, the Charizard, is it is what it says it is, right? The blockchain has verified it. People have verified it. It is mutually accepted that this is the one of one Charizard that I am buying. And you don't have to worry about someone, a third party checking to make sure it's legit. You don't have to worry about the physical item being damaged. You don't have to worry about shipping it across the world. It's all digital, right? So because it's digital, I can easily buy it and then you send it to my wallet. I now own this digital asset that is verified by the blockchain. It is shipped to me without having to worry about going across the world to see if it's real or not. It can't be damaged because it's digital. And I own it. And it's got all the same qualities that makes it valuable as that same card, but it's got all of the benefits of verifiable, transaction, seamless transaction, not having to worry about damaging it, all these other benefits that you can get with a digital asset that you just can't get with a physical one. So that's one example I think that most people can kind of wrap their heads around to some degree. I'm like, okay, I can see why they both might have value to some degree. And I can see why there's benefits for having the NFT over having the card.
Yeah. I also have an example. Let's say this is an iPhone. Anyone can have the same iPhone. But if I have a signature and if it's electronic with 01, which is like binary electronic signature, it makes it unique and I can sell it. And it's one and only one unique iPhone in the world, which is unique, and I can sell it. Right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, yeah, to some degree. I mean, you could really do this. I think you just kind of highlighted the fact that like, this is not just about cards or games or items. Like this can be anything. It could be a house. It could be a car. You can represent anything in the real world with a physical item that's binded to it, or a digital item that's binded to it, and verify like, this is the one of one. This is the thing that it says it is, without having to worry about or rely on a third party to set up that mutual transaction so no one's getting burned.
Yes, very, very exciting. So let's talk about the value of NFT. Looking at the definition, so Matt defined NFT as verified ownership plus scarcity plus utility plus ownership history plus future value plus liquidity premium. So basically this definition is clear because for Pokemon, you play Pokemon, you go to this area and it has a Pokemon you collected through your app, Pokemon Go, that clarifies it. Verified ownership, which is through blockchain, and ownership history, you can see blockchain. If you have a public key of even Tesla, you can see how many Bitcoin it has. So that's pretty much clear. And future value. So can you please explain the last two terms in this definition, future value and liquidity premium?
So future value, this is probably the hardest one to explain, I would say, because it's like, this is to some degree is subjective, right? It's determining, and this is why like anything's got, future value priced in. Like if you think about a stock and you think about the earnings report and their future forecast, right? The price of the stock a lot of times fluctuates based on what the company is projecting to do in revenue in the next several months, where they're expecting the market to go. If there's bad sentiment that think they might not be able to perform as strongly as they have previously, shareholders will believe that the value is lower. This is no different in NFTs, right? It's very similar in that way. It's like this group, right? This NFT, this collection, which I think I didn't even really talk about community at all. The NFT, you have to kind of predict to some degree, does this have potential to be worth more in the future? And if so, why? So that's like, the future price action of it is really a part of the value currently. And like there is with any other investment, like real estate. I buy a house now expecting that this area is a good area. There's a lot of families moving in. There's a lot of business happening around the area where people might move here to work here. So in that reason, I think the real estate value of this area will go up over time. And that's for that reason, I would like to invest in purchasing some real estate here, hoping that it'll appreciate in value over the coming years. I can sell it later, or I can just own this asset that's worth more than what I paid for it. I think in that way, NFTs really are no different, and we shouldn't look at them any differently. The thing that people have a hard time understanding is why the valuations are so high. And I think, truthfully, the first part of it goes back to one of the other items. It's scarcity. When you look at the grand scheme of things, there's hundreds of thousands of stocks, companies. There's millions of homes. There's millions of cars. There's tens of thousands of NFTs in a collection. Right? The number is so much smaller, even though the people in the space is also less. The number of actual assets in a collection of NFTs is so much smaller that the scarcity of it really does kind of inflate the value to a degree. I also think we're in a time where it's brand new technology. You're going to see it go up like a lot, and there's going to be a lot of overhype and overvaluations on a lot of these. Truthfully, I do expect at some point it will come to earth a little bit before it really becomes mainstream. So, when you're factoring what you think the future value of an NFT might be, again, it goes back to my idea. One of the other points is utility, scarcity. Like, is there 10,000 of them? Is there 1,000 of them? 1/10 the supply makes a massive difference in price, right? Massive. 1/10. It's easy to do those numbers, harder to do numbers when you're talking about millions, right? Because people aren't going to take the time to do all that math. But for NFTs, if there's a 1,000 collection, thousands, very few people when you think about it. So that'll pump the numbers quite a bit to make some of these valuations insane. If you look at one of the most popular collections, Bored Ape Yacht Club, there's 10,000 of them. They're worth roughly 90 ETH right now, right? So somewhere in the ballpark of several hundred thousand, I don't know, $300,000, $400,000, which for one picture is ludicrous. But you look at people who own these things, and you look at people in the community and the access you gain by owning one of these, and the part of the community that you unlock, that you have the potential to interact with. People like Justin Bieber, Snoop Dogg, Steph Curry, Eminem, like these huge people own these Bored Apes because it's a status symbol. Truthfully, it's an asset to invest in that they think might go up in value over time, like anything else. And then if you're someone like me, obviously I can't afford one at this point, but if you're able to buy into one of these early on, right? 8 months ago when I started, or actually it was more than that. It's almost, I would say like more like 10 months ago, the Bored Ape came out. If you were one of the people that bought one of those day one, you paid $200-$300 for one of them, which is not a small amount of money, but it's not a lot either. Right? It's not nearly as much as it is now. You held it for not even a year and your investment's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's almost no other asset or investment I can think of that you can make that kind of return on in that time frame. It's absolutely insane. And obviously that's like an extreme example. That's one of the best examples, but there are dozens of projects that have done 10, 20, 50, 100x gains in months, which is just unheard of. And that's just because the scene's so new and there's really a lot of, it's still so small that things are volatile and it's really easy to make huge gains. It's also easy to make huge losses. So you have to be very careful in that way. But overall, this is like getting way deeper. And that's why this point is like a lot more in depth than you'd think. Determining what the value could be, there's a lot of analysis that has to happen in there. And that's like almost entirely what we spend our time on, is looking at a project and researching it and picking out like a criteria list, like kind of evaluating it to with an outline of criteria that says, okay, this is why we think this project might have potential. And this is why we're going to invest in it, because we think it has, the risk to reward ratio is great. It's in our favor. And those items are, like I said before, they're scarcity, utility, community. Those are the three pillars, I would say. And then within those, there's a ton of different variables. Sorry, long-winded answer. There's a lot to this. It's a lot more than that meets the eye, I guess you could say.
Awesome. So can you please share how you got into NFT, why you started, why you trusted this technology, and why you thought 6 months ago that this will have a future value?
So I think the roadmap that I see for a lot of people, the journey I see, is that if you're interested in crypto and you buy Bitcoin, for example, I think what will start to happen for a lot of people is they'll be like, oh, well, what's Ethereum? Let me try that out. Let me see what's going on there. And then once you buy some Ethereum, you're like, oh, what are all these other altcoins over here? I want to buy this one. I like this one. This one's cool. My friend told me about this one. Like, start buying all those up. And then the next thing on the list, at least for me, was NFTs. And and the way that it works is that Bitcoin is probably the slowest moving one of them all, which is crazy because by traditional standards, a stock or real estate, Bitcoin is so volatile, right? It moves up and down like crazy. You have to be on top of it at all times. It's extremely risky, right? It's crazy. And then as soon as you go into altcoins, you're like, Bitcoin is a snail. Bitcoin's the old bull. Like it moves slow. It's not that big of a deal. Altcoins move way more crazy, way faster, way more risky. Then you go into NFTs and it's even more volatile. It's even more risky. It's even more fast moving. I'm talking that the NFT space doesn't move in days. It doesn't move in hours. It moves in minutes.
Wow.
Minute to minute thing. Like you have to be on this. Just today, there was a project that just launched their art. Their art just came out. This is a $70 million project that launched last month. They released their art today and it was horrible. People freaked out. The floor price, the minimum cost of one of these NFTs dropped in half in 5 minutes. So if you weren't paying attention to, if you own that NFT and you weren't paying attention, the value of your NFT just dropped in half in 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
It is quick. You have to be on this stuff 24/7 at the moment, at least. Mm-hmm. And so I think what people love about it is that it's so fast moving. It's intense. It's exciting. And the ability, because it's so fast moving, that's why you have the ability to make absurd gains, absurd profit in unreasonably small amount of time, which is really exciting for people, right? Like get rich quick overnight is not a thing, but this is the closest thing I've ever seen to it. At the same time, it can go both ways. If you don't know what you're doing, or if you just make a bad choice, and I've made these before too, trust me, I bought one last week that is worth literally about 2/10 of what it was worth when I bought it. Like it just crashed. You're not going to make all the right choices. You can lose it as quickly as you can gain it. So for that reason, I to be honest with you, it's the excitement, the adrenaline you'll get out of it is not that far off from gambling. However, it is definitely different than gambling. There is a science to it. There is a criteria list. There are strategies. There are definitely ways that you can improve your return rate and your investment rate. Just like any other investment avenue. It's just a lot quicker moving and a lot more intense.
So that was a wonderful journey, how NFT space is growing. You're making a lot of money. People are making millions of dollars. But one thing people don't know is most or many projects in this space are bad. People have huge losses in this industry. So can you tell me, is there a way to avoid losses, or is it like gambling?
Yeah, there's definitely no way to avoid losses, right? Like I've been in this for 8 months, and like I said, last week I bought something for 0.17. It's now worth about 0.04, right? So I've lost I don't even know, 70, 80% of the value of that NFT in less than a week. There are always going to be choices that you make that aren't perfect. There's always, like, if there is reward there, there's always risk. You're not going to find any asset class or investment where there is a ton of upside and very low risk. It doesn't exist. Call those unicorns. If you find that, go for it, because I don't think you're going to find that. It's probably a scam. If you can gain a lot in this space, you can lose a lot. So to avoid losses, the best thing you can do is really spend your time understanding what you're buying before you're buying. Do the research. Be part of a community like my own or someone else's that helps you do the research, that has a group of people that are all researching the same thing, so we can collectively make a decision of, 100 minds or 1,000 minds are better than one mind, right? If 1,000 people are like, we've done the research, we think this is a good move to invest in, we're gonna all, I'm investing, multiple people are investing in that group, there's a chance that it's more likely it'll do better than if you just happen to do it on your own, right? Because someone's going to see something differently than you'll see it. And they might be like, hey, this is a red flag. Hey, this is, I don't like this part of it. I think this is a potential issue. This could be, this could be bad for it. And ultimately, the way that we do it is we look at a project, we go through all of our criteria, we consult the group, see what the analysis is, what the consensus is, and then really decide for ourselves, what's the risk to reward here? If I buy in with $300 and there's a chance that we think this could go up to $3,000, there's a 10x potential. Worst case is I lose all $300. That is at that point, it's a personal question. It's a case by case basis, right? If you're someone who $300 is a lot, you don't have a lot in savings and that's a lot of money, you shouldn't take that risk. You shouldn't, right? You shouldn't be taking on a $300 risk if you can't afford to lose that $300. Mm-hmm. If you're at a situation where $300 is, you have $3,000 to work with and you're willing to, spend and lose up to $3,000, 300 might be worth taking that risk, right? It's a 10% of your whole, your portfolio you're willing to work with. And if you think it's a good investment to take on, you can try to take it on. But you have to really, this is not financial advice, but I think the best thing you can do is really understand your situation personally after you've done all the research, and then make sure you make a decision that's best for you. So for me, that example, $300 to me is not like, if I lose it, it's not the end of the world. I will recover. It's okay. So that, a 10x gain or potentially higher is worth taking on that risk to me. If it's a project where it's like, okay, it's $300, but I think that if things all go really well, I just really can't see this project getting much higher in the short term than $600. Then you really have to ask yourself, is it worth risking 300 to make an extra 300? And I would say at the moment in this space, no, I personally wouldn't take that gamble because it's not worth it to me. The upside's just not there. This is all short-term thinking, by the way, right? There is also long-term investment strategies, which are completely different. I would say for those, you could potentially be buying something that is considered a blue chip. It's been around for a while. It's got a certain price level to it. And you're spending $1,000 on it. But you think over a long period of time, this project could do really well. And it could, again, 10x, be worth $10,000, but it's going to take a lot longer. So you ask yourself again, is it worth holding on to this for a long period of time without $1,000? I don't feel as risky that I'll lose it to $1,000 because I think it's a stable project, but could I use that $1,000 elsewhere that would earn me more in that time period? That's the analysis I have for long-term projects. Is the money I'm spending on this now best spent for this long-term, or best spent to use in other things, whether it's long-term or short-term elsewhere, that would outperform that investment? So there are different strategies that I use personally. There's different strategies that our group uses personally. On an individual basis, we obviously all help each other to find these projects and evaluate them. But at the end of the day, everyone's making their own decisions for themselves because everyone's case is completely different. Everyone's got emotions that play into it. But I would say, if you're a person looking to get into it, if you can spend an hour or two a day, specifically in a group like mine, that eliminates a lot of the research time that required to understand and find the projects, that's what I do all day. So, and then I share that all with my group, and they pay, my group pays to have access to that information. That's really the way it works right now. And that's for not just me, but for any group in the space. And I think you'll find that as soon as you get into this, you'll realize you have to spend a lot of time in it on your own to understand and find the projects, or you can spend a little bit of money to help someone do all the research for you, utilize the community, and then make your own decisions with the hour or two of time you have a day.
So basically, you cannot be like Rock or Commando. You cannot be one-man army. You have to unite together. You have to think as a team. When hundreds of people are thinking about this is a good project, you are basically you're more likely to be right about that project. So it is risky, but when people unite, it's less risky than before. So
exactly. I would say the most important thing right now in the space, most valuable thing is information. And so if you have a community of people that is all feeding information into the same place, the best information, and filtering out all of the bad stuff into a valuable ball of information, having access to that group is what is most important right now. That might change over time, but I do think to some degree that will always be the case. Information is the most valuable thing you can get in this space.
Awesome. So let's talk about the time to make significant amount of money in NFTs, like $3,000 to $4,000 a month or even more. So can you tell me, if I am in a group where they buy and sell NFTs, so how many hours I should be giving? Let's say I give 1 to 2 hours a day on my side, on my software engineering job or any kind of job I do 40 hours a week. So is that time enough to make $3,000 to $4,000 a month?
I would say it's like any other business, right? You're not going to make a bunch of money in the first month or the second month. It's going to take time to understand how this stuff works. You have to do the research and really watch a lot of content or read up on it, whatever you prefer, to understand how it works to a degree and get yourself involved in it. I would recommend not buying anything until you've done at least 15 hours of research. That's what I tell everyone that joins my group. Don't even consider buying anything. I know you're going to want to, just wait. Look at what other people buy, look at projects that you want to buy and say, what if I bought this? Let's just say I bought it, and then look back 2 weeks later and say, how did that turn out? I think a lot of times beginners will find that the ones that they thought were good may not have been the best choices, right? Because they just want to buy into something. But once you start to learn a bit more, at least for me, early on, I wasn't making anything, right? I bought the wrong projects. Some of them I was able to flip for profit. Some of them are a loss. Overall, it was about break even. I didn't make much. I didn't lose much because I was not taking on a lot of risk. That's just me as a person. I don't like to take a lot of risk. But if you just dive in and just spread your money wherever, it's very likely you won't do very well. You have to do the research, put in the time. Whether it's slowly over the course of weeks, that's fine. Or if you do it all at once, that's fine.
So do you think a common person like me has to quit their job to get into the space, or like just on the side, few hours a day is enough for now?
A few hours a day is enough. I would say the irony of the situation is that I'm spending, I would say like 80 to 90% of my time working on the businesses that are in the space. I also actually have other businesses as well. And then actually trading as an investor, collector, I spend about maybe 5% of my time doing. So really, if you have a day job, which is most people watching this, you don't need to quit your day job to do this. You shouldn't quit your day job to do this, right? You want to have an income stream. You want to have a reliable income stream. Do this on the side. This is a hobby, right? Make it a hobby. It should be fun. It should be enjoyable. Obviously, it can be detrimental if you lose money. So, don't just rush into this. But I would say you don't need more than 1 to 2 hours a day if you really want to, invest some time into this. You don't need to spend a ton of time on it.
Awesome. So one of my final question would be, let's say this is an image, this is an NFT image I have. So if I want to hold it for the next 10 years, I think NFT is a long-term investment. I want to hold it. So do you think I'll be able to sell it immediately when I want to within the next 1 week? So how would you predict that? Because I think it's a hot one. I am in need of money today. I want to sell this NFT. Do you think I can make money right away in 1 week? Like just liquidate it?
So yeah, so you're talking about liquidity, right? You're talking about and this is one thing we didn't really talk about at all yet, which is great. NFTs are also part of the risk is that the liquidity of some of these can go to zero out of nowhere, right? So if no one's willing to buy this NFT that you have, then even if you list it for whatever you want, if no one's buying it, it's worth nothing. Mm-hmm. And because there's so few people in the space, the gaps between something being worth 1 and worth 0 can come very quick, right? In other markets, if you have something that's worth $100, it's not likely it's going to go to 0 very quickly, right? It's got to go through 99 and 98, 97, all the way down. People got to be willing to, spend less and less and less on it. It's got to go down over time. NFTs aren't like that. If there's someone that lists one NFT at 1 and the next one's listed at 0.1, and there's none in between, if someone sells this one, the next value is 0.1, right? And if no one wants to buy it at 0.1, then really it's worth 0. So the liquidity and the volume in the space is critically important to making sales. So like the way that right now, the way that you value an NFT is called the floor price. And that's basically just the lowest sale price that someone has theirs listed for. So if there's 10,000 in a collection, and of the 10,000, 1,000 of them are listed for sale, the lowest price that someone's listed it for is the floor price of that project. And that is what is deemed to be the value of those NFTs, right? If someone's willing to buy the lowest price, then all the other ones must be worth at least that price at that moment. What happens when no one is willing to buy that lowest price at all? Then technically all of them are worth 0 at that point. But if that person lowers the price even more, and then someone says, hey, okay, I'll pay that price instead, that lower price, and someone buys it, then again, everything's worth whatever that lowest price point is. That changes, again, on a minute-to-minute basis for almost every project.
Wow.
But in some cases where there are projects that the team falls apart, or the value is not there, the utility is not there, or the community leaves, or people don't care about it anymore, those projects can become illiquid, where no one is willing to buy it no matter what the price is. And then if you are one of the people that still has one of those NFTs, you're stuck. That is the situation where you investing $300 into that NFT can be worth, you can lose all of it genuinely. If no one is willing to buy your NFT, you basically have a worthless asset. So it's really important that you make sure you buy things that you understand and know that there's value there, that other people will see the value in as well.
So basically the idea is, if you think you have the market for that NFT now, you should sell it at that time. You cannot predict the future. It's not like Bitcoin or Apple stock. You think it's going to go up. It can go up and down at any point of time.
Absolutely. Every single product. I mean, that it is incredibly volatile. Like, it is super risky both ways. There are some, indications and things you can look for, like I've said, criteria that help you determine what a project might do. But there's obviously no guarantees. Predicting things is incredibly difficult. To some degree, you can predict things on a very short-term frame, but long-term, extremely hard to do with most projects. I would say maybe a handful or two dozen projects I could accurately say, like, in a year from now, they will be around. They will be worth at least this much, in my opinion. I don't know what they could go to at the peak, but I think they'll be at least worth X amount. But there's literally, I can count on two hands the number of products that exist that are in that boat right now. For your example of the image, I would say this: if you buy an NFT and it goes up in price, don't ever be afraid to lock in profits. Nobody ever went broke taking profits, So, it could keep going way higher. It could go 10 times higher than what you sold it for, and you might regret it a little bit, but you will never go broke if you take profits. If you take your money when you've made money, that's never a bad thing. At least that's my belief.
Yes. Always sell when you think you have profit and just take it. Don't wait. Awesome. And last question will be about the taxes. In India, I can tell you, on these digital assets, we pay 30% tax on the profit. It's like capital gain tax. So how much you think is in the US, and how much taxes we will be paying?
So this is a fun combo. Actually, I just had calls with a couple of different accountants recently. The US has not really had a clear description of what the taxes will be on NFTs specifically. To my understanding right now, it will be what other securities are, right? So long-term capital gain tax, which is any investment that you've held for over 1 year, is taxed at a flat rate. And it depends on how much income you've made for the year. US is incredibly confusing. So if you made up to $40,000 in the year, you actually pay 0% capital, long-term capital gains. If you've made more than 40,000, it's like 40,000 to, I don't know, like 150,000. I think it's 15%. And if you've made over 150,000, it's 20%. But that's long-term. Short-term, which almost all of these NFT trades are, under 1 year. If you buy it and sell it 2 weeks later, or 3 months later, or 8 months later, it's all short-term. I'm pretty sure the capital gains for that is whatever your income tax rate is. So if you make a bunch of money, it's way higher. If you make not a lot of money, it's way lower. But that also all might change this year because they're introducing new tax laws. So that could all be completely irrelevant in a couple months. I don't know.
Wow. So basically buying, selling NFTs is like day trading. So it's like a full-time job. So if you make $100 in 1 year through NFTs, you pay taxes based on your income. So basically, if in US on $100,000, you pay 25% taxes, on $100, you'll be paying 25% taxes as well after combine all your income. So that will be the reality. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be whatever your net taxable income is at the end of the day. Yeah.
Awesome. One more question will be, which network you think is the best? So if I want to make my NFT, if I want to sell my NFT, if I want to buy an NFT, should I still stick to Ethereum even though it has highest gas fee? Or I think one should trust with Solana, Polygon. So which network you have the highest trust in?
It's Ethereum hands down. The space is still, even though the gas is absolutely outrageous. I mean, you will be paying $30 to $100 for most transactions a lot of the time, which when I first started in the space, I was like, I'm not going to spend more money on the transaction that it costs to buy the NFT. That's crazy, but it's where it is. Ethereum, I by far trust the most. I would say layer 2s for Ethereum, I think will be the future this year going forward. So it will be, gasless transactions that are way more carbon neutral, environmentally friendly. They're still on Ethereum, but they're on a second layer on Ethereum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also I remember in your video, you shared that the relationship between crypto and NFT is inversely proportional. So how does it work? If crypto goes up, NFT goes down. If crypto goes down, Bitcoin, Ethereum, NFT goes up. So why and how?
And this is, I wouldn't say it's perfectly correlated, but there's definitely some relevancy there. From my experience in the last 8 months, when crypto was going up in October, right? We had a really good month in October. NFTs, it wasn't necessarily that NFTs were dropping in price. I mean, they were, but the reason for that is because people that are in NFTs primarily are also the rich people that are in crypto. Think about it this way. Like, who is willing to spend $300,000 on a picture of a monkey? Only the people that are willing to do that are the people that have made a bunch of money in crypto already. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, how can I flex my status? I'm going to go and buy this thing that everyone in the space knows is super valuable, but the general public doesn't really care about this. And they would never spend that much money on this right now because they don't understand it yet. So those people, when crypto is going crazy, they're riding the crypto wave. They're taking all their funds that they have, their wallet, putting it into crypto, riding the wave. When crypto's coming down and they don't want to invest more into crypto, where are they going to go? NFTs. And I've seen very clearly so far, I mean, to some degree that, it's not perfect, but there's a strong correlation between when crypto is hot, the money goes to crypto. When crypto is cold, money comes back to NFTs, which means there's more volume in the space, which generally means people are buying things, and the prices of those things that people are buying because there's demand goes up. So the prices will generally rise across the board, not necessarily, any one project or another, but across the board, the prices tend to go up when crypto is on a decline. Recently, with the news of Russia and the war and stuff, I think when everything crashes, like traditional markets, crypto, I think if everything's crashing, NFTs generally, people panic. People pull their money out of things. They want to hold on to their cash. They don't know. Their uncertainty is fear, right? Fear is just spreads like crazy. So people want to pull their cash out, hold on to it, not worry about like what's going to happen. So NFTs that night, 2 nights ago, when crypto crashed, stocks crashed, war broke out, war broke out, NFTs were also like huge decline. The last 2 days, crypto's rebounded. Stock market seems like it's rebounded to a degree. NFTs have also rebounded somewhat. So I think if everything's going down together, NFTs will probably get sucked down with it. But when there's just crypto and NFTs to a smaller degree, there is an inverse correlation for sure.
Thank you so much, Matt. It was so knowledgeable, and I actually learned a lot throughout this conversation. I'm sure a lot of students watching this video, a lot of college students, engineers watching this video will actually take some valuable lessons to it, and they can give few hours on the side to buy and sell NFTs only if they are willing to lose that money and make some side hustle as a backup, right, or make some money on the side. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And one thing I will say before I go is, even if most people are in it for the money right now, but I will say that the reason I'm so excited about the space is really not because of obviously there's a huge potential to make a bunch of money on investments. Great. The reason I love it so much, the technology beneath all of this is amazing. It's not perfect by any means yet. There needs to be a ton of improvement, but the core foundation of what it's trying to do, that technology, that innovation, I am very, very confident, have super high conviction that that is going to spread to so many other industries and so many other areas to improve the way that we do things. And it's going to shift culture entirely. That's truly what I believe. And that's why I personally am so excited that I'm here so early on, because I've seen this happen before in other areas. And I felt like I was late to it. And when I was right, I was like, man, like I knew about it. I just wish I was, I dove in a little bit more. This time I'm not making that mistake. This is going to be in many ways similar to the impact that the internet had on the world. This is game-changing technology. The blockchain as a whole, game-changing technology. I'm saying it here.
Yes, totally agree, because everyone cares about the money, but they don't care about our passion and love for the technology, why we are here. Awesome.
Yeah,
thank you
absolutely.
so much. And I will link all of your social media accounts and your channel in the description below. Definitely check out Matt's channel as well.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Yep, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, Matt. And we'll see you guys in the next one.